Welcome back to Pre-Algebra, Chapter 6, Section 7 in this book. And this is something that has been changed to be emphasized more in pre-algebra and algebra than when I was your age. This stuff has to do with statistics, and they've moved more statistics into algebra. So y'all are going to get to learn next year a lot more statistics, and I think it's kind of interesting and fun. And if you really like statistics, you can do whole careers of math that has to do with statistics. You can be a statistics major in college. So what we're going to talk about today that has to do with statistics is probability and odds. And this is something you already know about. It's part of our common speech. What are the odds that something, or what's the probability that, or that's not probable? We're used to these English words, but in math we have to be a little bit more precise about it. So probability is the number of favorable outcome divided by the total numbers of outcomes. Say we're going to flip a coin. You're flipping it in the air. Heads I win, tails you lose. No. Flip it in the air, I call heads. So how many favorable outcomes are there? There's just one, because a coin only has one head. Now, how many total outcomes are there? There's two. It could be heads or tails. So the probability of a favorable outcome is 1/2, or it's 1 to 2, or it's 1 to 2. Those are all the same things. Or sometimes it's said to be 50% or 0.5. All of those are ways of reporting that probability. Because remember, 1/2 is the same as 50% or 0.5. This would be 1 to 2, 1 to 2. So all of those are the same thing. Now, what are odds? We sort of, in our English, just use them the same. What are the odds? What's the probability? But in math, it's a little bit different. Odds are the number of favorable divided by the number of unfavorable. So with the coin, the favorable outcome, heads, there's 1, and there's 1 unfavorable outcome, tails. So for the coin, it's 1 to 1, and we hear this a lot. It's 50-50. If it's 50-50, you're talking odds, not probability. So it would be like 1 to 1, or you could say the fraction, or like that. So that's the difference in odds and probability. It is something you need to know. So let's do a probability one. They call it a number cube. It's like they're not allowed to say dice. So they got a dice, and it has 6 sides. You might not have ever thought about it before, but there's 4 around the edges, and the top and bottom, 4 plus 2 is 6. So a dice has 6 sides to it. And they said, what is the probability that you would roll an even number? So that's 2, 4, 6. So probability is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. Well, the favorable ones are 2, 4, 6. There's 3 of them, and the total sides on this dice, or die, is 6. So this is the probability, and you reduce the fraction. So you don't say 3 to 6. You say 1 to 2, or 1 to 2, like that. Now, that is a theoretical probability. This was a theoretical probability, that it was 1 to 2 that I would get what I want. And if you did this, then that means it's an equal chance of being heads or tails. But in reality, we know I can flip a coin 10 times, and by the theoretical probability, 5 should be heads and 5 should be tails. But in reality, all 10 of them could be heads, couldn't they? Or all 10 could be tails. So there's a experimental probability, the reality. The theoretical probability is what it should do according to the math statistics, but reality doesn't always obey it. So if you're actually finding the actual experimental probability, then you do your number of success trials divided by your total number of trials. Their example in the book is they said people making a hole-in-one, that there were 256 people who tried to make a hole-in-one, and 44 made the hole-in-one. So that is an experimental probability, and you also reduce the fraction. So, and remember I told you could do that with your calculator. If you do 44 divided by 256, and then do math enter, it will reduce the fraction for you to 11/64. Now, so here is an odds problem. Odds is favorable divided by unfavorable. And they said, what if you randomly pick a number between 1 and 20? What are the odds of it being prime? And there's 8 prime numbers. So the number of favorable is 8. The number of unfavorable is 20 minus 8, which is 12. And then we reduce that fraction, 8/12. This is 2/3. So the odds are 2 to 3 or 2 to 3. All right, so do this homework, and then this is it for chapter 6. So we'll do, oh, no, it's not. We have to do the accounting principle. Come back for 6.8, the counting principle. Math is great.